This is Hesper the emergency broadcastician. The broadcast is of involuntary cooperation with the NOAA Authority and about this proceeding to inform in the event of an emergency.
Hello everyone, welcome to a special edition of WrestleRage Cast. I'm your host, JD Rage. I'll be doing a lone podcast. So we'll be reviewing the TNA pay-per-view that aired. That was the one night only. For some of you that don't know, TNA has cut back from 12 live pay-per-views a year down to 4. One was in January, it was Genesis. March was Lockdown. June will be Slammiversary. And October will be Bound for Glory. So, since they've cut down from 12 to 4, that leaves open spots on the calendar, and TNA is obligated to provide a pay-per-view in some of its markets, regardless of the pay-per-view cutback. So, what TNA has done is pre-taped shows to air in place of the live pay-per-view in order to fulfill their obligations. Friday night, the first one aired, which was called Extravaganza, and was based on the X Division, so it's basically Destination X with a different name. The reason I say Friday night is because it is now 1:54 a.m. here in Indiana, so technically it's Saturday morning. So anyways, the show kicked off with a 7-man escape match inside a steel cage. The rules of an escape match are process of elimination by pinfall, submission, until it's down to 2. Then the first to escape the cage wins. The participants were Christian York, Matt Bentley, Jimmy Rave, Sam Shaw, Lince Dorado, Puma, and Alex Silva. I mean, it was your basic X Division match. The order of elimination was, the first elimination was Dorado, the second was Puma, Alex Silva was eliminated 3rd, Sam Shaw was eliminated 4th, Matt Bentley was 5th, so it came down to Jimmy Rave and Christian York. The finish of the match was Christian York hit a neck breaker off the top rope, and Christian York went to climb the cage. Jimmy Rave grabbed Christian York's leg. Christian York kicked at Rave, and Jimmy Rave fell to the canvas, and Christian York escaped the cage. It was an alright match. It lasted about 20 minutes, so nothing really too big happened there. The second match of the night was dubbed Old School vs. New School. It was Doug Williams and Kid Cash versus Anthony Nese and Rashad Cameron. Kid Cash talked trash to Rashad Cameron, which is normal Kid Cash behavior. The match lasted about 15 minutes. The finish was a Rolling Chaos Theory from Doug Williams on Anthony Nese. So, concludes match number 2. After the second match, Robbie E came out, cut a promo in the ring, saying how he was the greatest X Division champ and how he invented the X Division. Then out came Chavo Guerrero. Then he done a spiel on how Guerrero family basically invented the X Division, and Chavo said, well, we are here at an X Division pay-per-view, so why not me and you have a match? Then Robbie E said, well, there's no ref, so there's no way we can have a match. Then Chavo came back and said, well, we have a ref, and it's Joseph Park. So Joseph Park became the ref. That match lasted about 5 minutes. Chavo won with a frog splash off the top rope, so not much there. The fourth match of the night was an Ultimate X match. Was Zema Ion versus Rubix versus Kenny King versus Mason Andrews. Went about 13 minutes. Few high points of the match was Rubix almost grabbed the X, but Kenny King pulled him down and from standing in the center of the ring, and Rubix landed on Kenny King's shoulders, and Kenny King hit Rubix with the Death Valley Driver. And there was a nice German suplex spot. Mason Andrews was on the high wire, and Rubix pulled him down. Mason Andrews landed on his feet, and when he landed on his feet, Rubix hit a German suplex. The finish was Rubix had the X, and Kenny King pulled Rubix down onto his shoulders. Kenny King grabbed the X. Kenny King gave Rubix the electric chair to win, in which he grabbed the X. So that was the whole concept of the Ultimate X, was to grab the X. The fifth match of the night on the card lasted about 16 minutes. It was Sanjay Dutt and P.D. Williams versus Bad Influence, Christopher Daniels, and Kazarian. It was the first match since 2009 for Petey Williams in TNA, which I'm glad he's back now because he's been one of my favorite wrestlers, so it's always glad to see him back. The finish was the biggest moonsault ever on Sanjay Dutt, and Kazarian got the pin and the win. And after the match, Daniels was holding Sanjay Dutt, and Kaz went to slap Sanjay Dutt. Sanjay Dutt ducked. Kaz slapped Daniels. Williams comes in, hits Canadian Destroyer on Kazarian. His sixth match of the night was one of Jerry Lynn's last matches, was RVD versus Jerry Lynn. That match lasted about 17 minutes. It was under no disqualification rules. There was the usual RVD spot, leg drop spot, where RVD hits a leg drop over Jerry Lynn when he's slumped over the barricade. RVD set up a table early in the match in the corner. Then Jerry Lynn went and grabbed the table and set it outside the ring. A little while later, Jerry Lynn was draped down in the bottom turnbuckle, and RVD had a chair and was going to drop kick it in Jerry Lynn's face, but Jerry Lynn got up and speared Van Dam through the table. And the finish was a 5-star frog splash from RVD on Jerry Lynn to get the win. So RVD gets the win there. Then it goes to the main event, which was Austin Aries versus Samoa Joe. The match lasted about 20 minutes. Samoa Joe controlled the opening of the match for a few minutes, and Austin Aries grabbed control. A lot of Aries sucks chants, and Austin Aries ended up getting a roll-up for a win. That's how the main event ended. I mean, it wasn't a bad pay-per-view. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. And in my view, the RVD Jerry Lynn match should have been the main event rather than Aries and Joe. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from them, but in my view, the RVD Lynn match should have went on last just because of Jerry Lynn's last match. You know, I've thought about this for a while. I mean, am I glad that TNA has reduced its pay-per-view lineup to just 4 events? I'd say yes and no. Like, the one bad thing about a taped show is that this pay-per-view was taped on January 12th. You know, that's almost 3 months ago, and what makes it bad is seeing the spoilers. I mean, I'm the kind of person who will look at the spoilers and forget what the results are. You know, I mean, it's not on purpose, but that's just how things go with me. And the good thing is about having 4 live pay-per-views, you know, with maybe 2 or 3 months separating them is, you know, you have time to actually build a storyline and let it manifest rather than, you know, come out of a pay-per-view, then have 3 weeks to build, you know, somewhat of a storyline before your next pay-per-view. And another thing that I found interesting is that this one night only show was taped on January 12th, 1 week before Brooke Hogan and Bully Ray's wedding. And Mike Tenay and Taz were announcers for this pay-per-view, and there were a couple of Aces and Eights references by Taz. And I don't recall if the January 17th Impact was taped or if it was live, but if that's the case, you know, Taz being a member of Aces and Eights must have been set in stone a while ago and wasn't randomly thrown into the group, because he makes a couple references. You know, I'm also surprised that this pay-per-view for TNA, this one night only one, that the first one aired on WrestleMania weekend. You know, I just wondered how many people spent the $15 on this show rather than dish out the $59 for the standard version of WrestleMania and the $69 for the high-def version of Mania. I mean, this pay-per-view is not going to bring in Mania numbers, but the buy rate interests me just to see how well it did, whether if it is going to be, you know, worth it for TNA or not. And I mean, the pay-per-view lasted about 2 hours, 44 minutes, so the next pay-per-view that TNA has that's going to air under the one night only name is going to be a Joker's Wild pay-per-view that airs May 3rd, which is a Friday. So anyways, for JD Rage here, we are hopefully Sunday going to have 2 shows, a pre-WrestleMania and a post-WrestleMania podcast. So if at all possible, if it's just me doing it, and if I have JA here to do it with me, one of us, if not both of us, will be doing it. So at least in my view, until Sunday, until Mania time, before and after Mania. We'll hear from us then. Later.
To the test of the emergency broadcast system. The broadcast is of the involuntary collaboration with the no authority and about this decision to inform in the event of an emergency.